You're watching memorable entertainment television. MeTV Tri-State.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
Tri-State Voices, an open discussion with area leaders on issues affecting communities throughout the Tri-State. Now, here's your host, Mike Woods.
Good morning. Welcome to Tri-State Voices. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Woods. Tri-State Voices is jointly sponsored by WTSN, the City Council Observer, and my office, Woods & Woods. Every week, we're fortunate to speak to community leaders concerning issues that are important to all of the Tri-State. I'm especially happy today to be able to talk to my old friend Connor O'Daniel. Connor is a graduate of Indiana University School of Law, and he's the finance chairman of the City Council. Connor has been a very successful lawyer. You might just call him a lawyer's lawyer. If you go to his website, you'll see that he's actually taught quite a few different classes for lawyers to attend to be able to handle a wide variety of legal matters. Connor is the chairman of the Finance Committee of the City Council, and of course he's probably one of the recognized experts of the City Council finances. Connor, appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Mike.
I know you're a busy guy. Why don't we start with the city budget? You're the finance chairman, and so would you just give us kind of an overview of how much money the city has coming in, where it comes from, and where all that money goes?
Okay. The budget's kind of composed of many different factors. We have the utility side, which is the water and sewer, and that's sort of its own little business on the side. They have their own capital expenditures that we oversee, but it's also overseen by the regulatory committees, IURC, and other watchdogs.
So it's almost like its own separate little corporation.
It really is. It really is. And largely what we deal with is the civil city budget, and that's it's about $90 million, $80 to $90 million, depending on what budgetary items you're looking at. But that covers the police and fire protection. It covers many different departments, local roads and streets, and it also has the capital fund, which has helped projects like the Ford Center, the IU Medical Center, and the proposed hotel.
Where does most of the money for the city come from?
Well, property taxes makes up the largest majority of it. The budget shows for about $61 million. Now, that $61 million is if 100% of the taxes were brought in. We don't receive that amount, but that's a budgetary sleight of hand that we have to deal with. The other parts of it come from local roads and streets. The state will give us some money there. Local option income taxes make up about $15 million of it. And then, of course, we have riverboat money and some other monies that come in from various resources.
And then how's that money distributed percentage-wise? How much goes to the police department, fire department, that sort of thing?
Well, these would be rough estimates, but both police and fire comprise of somewhere between $25 and $30 million apiece. And, you know, that pays for vehicles, it pays for their pensions, their salaries, and the protection that they need. So, you know, public safety is the first and foremost job of local government, and so that comprises about 2/3 of our entire budget.
You know, it always amazes me when people talk about the city budget or the state or the federal, they want to do all these things, but the fact of it is, so much of the money, you really can't move around a whole lot unless you're going to cut the police department or the fire department with the city. They say you got 2/3 of the amount of money, they're earmarked.
And it's not just earmarked, but they're subject to contracts. Both the police and fire have contracts. They're built-in 2% raises. They have certain line items that cannot be changed by contract. And just as the EVSC has to pay their teachers, we have to pay our fire protection and police protection. And so when we start looking at the budget items, you know, we have to start with the idea that we're going to pay a lot of money for those two departments. And we have to look to innovative ways to, one, either find new sources of revenue to do other projects like paving streets and the like, or find ways to cut extraneous items from the budget, or to find innovative ways to streamline and make our departments more efficient.
What do you think are the long-term outlook of the city's finances?
Well, I think, you know, if we continue to go down the path that we've gone the last couple years, then we're going to run into a brick wall several years down the road. Long term is kind of a funny thing. I mean, are we looking 3 years down the road or 10 years down the road? But in the immediate couple of years, we're still in good financial shape. We still have $11 million coming in from the riverboat every year that has been used to supplement projects. It's been used to help for bond financing for the big ticket items that we spoke about earlier, such as the riverboat, such as the Ford Center, the medical center, and the convention hotel. We have local option income tax, which is that 1% that you pay on your Indiana state taxes. Hopefully that will continue to grow. But right now it's $15.5 million, and the budget this year has us paying over $17 million out of it. So we're upside down almost $2 million in the budget. And I'm committed to try to bring that to zero. Now, we still have about $6.5 million in cash in that fund. We still have $6 or $7 million in the riverboat cash. We have the bond bank, which has $10 million in it. Not all of that is unencumbered, but you know, from a financial position, the city is in far better position than the county is. And our bond status, our bond rating shows it.
The amount of money we've got from the riverboat, it's gone down the last few years, and some of the projections on that aren't real great. You know, projections are kind of nebulous things. Everybody I've interviewed on this show for the past few months, I've asked them about, would you be in favor of a land-based casino? Every single one of them, both Republican and Democrat, have said they are in favor of that. But from what I can see out of Governor Pence, he's looking at the White House, and he's not interested in a land-based casino at all, is he?
Well, based on his recent conversation with John Friend, he's not interested at all. And you know,
John tried.
he tried, and I know the mayor's tried as well. And from a council position, we've sent resolutions to the state legislature to encourage consideration of land-based casinos. You know, some say, well, what is that going to do to bring more revenue to Evansville? And it has a couple different things. One, I think, is the layout. If you have a land-based casino, instead of having 3 levels like you do on the current structure, the riverboat, you can lay it out in a better configuration that's more conducive to gaming. If you know, it's going to be a newer facility, and so people will naturally be gravitating towards newness. And so that may create additional revenue that they haven't seen right now. It may increase the amount of gaming per passenger, or gaming per player that the riverboat sees right now, or Tropicana sees right now. You know, I think we look to Ohio and their success, but again, it's because it's new. We have an aging riverboat as it is. The investment in that is decreasing. You know, I think Tropicana would love to have it onshore. And, you know, we could move the LST into that slip. We could then generate perhaps additional structures that surround that new gaming center, and perhaps make it a museum, gaming, make it more of a destination for out-of-towners to come and stay and play and experience Evansville.
Evidently, Tropicana, and they should be experts in this, they believe it'd make a big difference because they're willing to make a big investment, but you know, their kind of hands are frozen until
Sure.
Pence changes his mind.
You know, and I look at it, you know, I don't know what there are 10 or so riverboats in the state of Indiana, and You know, the one that's closest to us, being French Lick, was
Boat
built
and a moat?
was a boat and a moat, and they filled that in several years ago. And so it's really a fiction that we have to have these casinos on water. It's not done in French Lick. You know, nobody said that that's increased crime or anything else. I think it's been nothing but a positive experience for Orange County, and I think we would see the same thing here.
I think so. In this boat here, of course, that never sails. I mean, like I said, it's a fiction.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, when it comes down to revenue, you know, for several years that revenue increased, and I believe it was about $12.5 to $13 million of casino revenue that came back to the city just as early as a couple of years ago. And then the legislature decided to tinker with some of the admission taxes and the vouchers that were gotten, which has pared back the amount of revenue that we expect. So instead of 13 million, we're down to about 11.4 projected this year. There's some other monies that go into it from reimbursements from fire apparatus, but that we use the riverboat to pay for, and that's why it's about 12.5 million. But 11.4 comes from the casino, and you know, whether we are too addicted to that money or not, we have to be cognizant of and aware that that revenue may not always be there. And if it's not always there, how are we going to manage the city's finances if it weren't there? You know, right now we should save that money for big ticket items. You know, we should, you know, it's just ultimately we should just conserve what we have for whether it be a rainy day fund, a savings account, because we never know what the next big investment that our community is going to be faced with.
Well, speaking of that next big investment, we just committed about $50 million in med school, over $100 million in the Ford Center, $20 million has been committed to a hotel. If some really neat project came along that we could put downtown, is the city tapped out, or we still have some capacity to latch onto a big project?
After speaking with Bob Swins from London Whitty, who's the counsel for the city as far as their finance goes, with the latest reduction in TIF revenue, and that's downtown property taxes, because of an appeal that was made by one of the larger structures down there. I believe that we're pretty close to maxed out. You know, we don't know exactly what our capacity is right now, because we haven't actually floated those bonds for the hotel or the med center yet. But I suspect that that additional $70 million or $77 million actually of bonds will get us close to being at full capacity. That's also kind of a misnomer, because we fully expect there to be additional ground broken on whether it be apartments or businesses or hotels that may come up and be new and increase the property tax base for downtown. And so as that goes back up, so too the revenues, which increases our ability to bond for additional projects. So in the short run, we're going to be pretty tight, but 5 years from now, we may have quite a bit of capacity.
Is the med school a done deal, or is there anything that needs to go through the state legislature or anything for that to happen?
Well, there's still a couple processes that need to be done. They have released the $2 million for the study and site preparation and those sort of things, but the Council for Higher Education still has to approve it, and the government, state government, House of Representatives and the House and Senate still have to approve the monies by which the school will actually be expanded and moved from the current location on USI out to the downtown area. So I mean, they've got to rent from the public-private venture, you know, so they don't have that money committed yet. But we expect that to happen early next year.
But realistically, though, it's a done deal, do you think?
I would be shocked if it was not. I think everybody would be. You know, this has been a long time study. It's been debated and talked about for years. Now that we have the site, we have the plan, we have the business who's going to do it, I think that everybody's committed to seeing through on this. And frankly, there's a big need, you know, not just for Evansville, but just in med schools in general, because we have an aging population, we have an aging physician base as well, and with the additional people who are going to be coming on to the insured list, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, we're going to need additional doctors to see all those patients. And so they've indicated there's been a shortage for a number of years, and it's going to take a number of years to try to work through that backlog.
The med school is going to cost somewhere around $50 million. If you looked at the 3 other locations, the east side, that Promenade, USI on the west side, and then just really just a few hundred yards across the county line and Warwick County with the other options, was it worth $50 million to make sure it was downtown as opposed to other locations? I guess what I'm asking is, when we're spending that money, should we look at the whole area, including Warwick, Posey, Gibson counties, as our tri-state community? Is it worth that much money to downtown?
Time will tell on that. I happen to believe it was worth it, because I do believe that that the downtown, being the current condition that it is, sort of on the cusp of sort of explosion of growth and excitement, I think that it will be the best area where you can get new growth. And that's really, you know, the trustees for IU weren't really concerned so much with growth. But when we're putting together a bid package for a school of that size and stature, we have to look at the economic impact of its surroundings. And I think virtually everybody who looked at that, the number of folks who would be coming downtown, what the spin-off effect might be, have indicated that it's well worth it. You know, had it gone to the Promenade, you know, there still was going to be a very large financial component from they were asking still from a very large component from the public, and that is creation of a TIF, which would have done the sewers and the infrastructure for that. So it wasn't going to be free if it was there. And there may not have been as much growth around the school simply because you have the restaurants, you have the apartments already in that particular area. If it was in Warwick County, obviously we don't benefit at all from any growth. Now, the greater area, the tri-state area, clearly does, but, you know, we can't be concerned about we had to be concerned about what Evansville could do. And we believe that a medical facility downtown where a greater number of folks would need clinic experience and don't have access to medical care now, along with Deaconess being within really a mile, and St. Mary's being about 4 miles away, it seemed to be that was the best fit to accommodate both the hospitals, patients, and the growth.
You seem really positive of long-term future of downtown.
I do. I mean, you know, there are a lot of naysayers out there on it, but you know, in 20 years or so as my adulthood in Evansville, and you know, I was raised here, you know, went to Memorial, and downtown for years had been so dead. You know, there was no traffic down there at all, but Mayor Weinsaffel started the loft projects, and with the casino being downtown, that sort of was the first leg of this. You got to get some activity down there. And then creation of the walkway being a drivable thoroughfare was the next leg of that. The Ford Center, the next leg. And so we're progressing, and I think downtown is far more vibrant today than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I think that it will continue to do so. Now, are we going to be Indianapolis in 10 years? No, we're not going to. We want to be Evansville, and we want to be the best Evansville we can be. And I think that Evansville starts with a vibrant downtown. So,
I do. The downtown has changed so much. I started practicing law in 1982, and I've been downtown every working day since then. At that time, you had that Mesker Steel over there, and it was terrible. It was just full of pigeons and winos and stuff. And of course, now you've got the casino. You've got building after building after building downtown that was empty back then that's been renovated, one place after another. And then now you get that med school over there. You're going to have these two economic engines, the casino on one end and the med school on the other. One thing that's going to be really interesting is right now they're renovating the bus station. Of course, that's a couple of the biggest blocks downtown that's it is hooked to, and at one point they were thinking about putting the med school in that area.
And if you go back and listen to a couple city council meetings, my vision was for that med school to go there. I thought that could incorporate the Greyhound station, a great historical structure which going through renovations that we've been able to save through, Indiana landmarks and going through renovation now. But it didn't happen there. You always have to have several different plans, and for whatever reason that deal couldn't be negotiated. I think where it's at now, right next to the proposed hotel and where the Ford Center is, and with the way that the growth can be configured in that square block area, I think it was a great fallback plan. Now that being said, what do we do with that area? Because my prognosis for downtown is so positive, I really do think that we ought to do what we can to keep that 2 to 4 square block area fairly pristine. Not do a park at this point, but maintain it. That's where the farmers market is. Maybe we can do some things to generate some interest in there, but that really ought to be for a major construction kind of project, and be a future lure to any business who wants to come downtown.
Yeah, the main thing I want is, like you said, a major construction project. I don't want just some kind of a strip mall or cheap buildings. That'd be the worst thing.
Yeah, for whatever reason that's been set aside. That was the old SCORE building. Hindsight might say that you could have renovated that building and it could have been, kind of a hip office space. But, it was in bad shape when they tore it down, and it needed to go at that point. But, you're looking right next to the Fifth Third. You're looking blocks away from Casino, blocks away from Vectron, Old National, and then you have that great structure in the old post office. It can create and it's right in the heart of downtown. I think it's a great location for a large business that wants to come in and create a corporate headquarters, or like Barry Plastics. If they ever wanted to construct a corporate headquarters, I think it'd be a wonderful location for that.
What's going on with the hotel? It seems like they keep announcing it's going to groundbreaking. It keeps getting pushed off and pushed off. Are we any closer?
Well, I think every day that goes by we're closer. I think there's a lot of people that like to have seen it groundbreaking happen already. Aside from shoveling a few shovels of sand, back in was it March or April. We've been told that it came in over budget, and that they're going back and rebidding it. I've also been told that that's not uncommon in large construction projects in which you have sort of a public-private partnership, if you want to call it that. And so, I'm optimistic that the second round of bids will come in much closer to what their budget was. And, as they've indicated, value engineering, which, some say is code for going cheap. My conversations with various people are, no, it just means that you cut back on those really high, expensive things that maybe help operating costs down the road, but are really more of the Cadillac or the Rolls Royce as opposed to the Buick or the Chevy, And so, I think at this point we need to get it built. We have a convention that's already been put off because of it, and I think the citizens really need to see something going on over there. And so hopefully by the end of September we'll hear back from HCW, and we'll have have a celebration that it's finally done.
Well, I bet you guys are tired of hearing about it. It's going on for a long time. You got to be getting close to worn out, so hopefully it'll be done soon.
Sure.
Let me ask you about tax abatements. The whole theory, as I understand tax abatements, is encourage businesses to grow, provides jobs. In the long run, the business will expand, the tax abatement won't be there anymore, and they're going to generate more taxes. But lately I noticed they gave a tax abatement to Schnucks. I'm not sure I understand that, because I think there's going to be grocery stores no matter what. People are going to buy groceries. They gave, I think, a tax abatement to Tri-State Orthopedics. I love that group. Got friends of mine that work there. But again, people aren't going to stop going to the doctors. I mean, did we really need to give tax abatements to those two groups as opposed to saving those tax abatements for out-of-town companies and bring in jobs?
Well, I think we can do both. You know, the reality is that when you look at, we'll take Tri-State Orthopedics first. I mean, that's Pollock's group, and they are currently in Warwick County. And so they're going to construct a new facility in the shadow of where Tri-State Orthopedics is right now. That's new jobs in Evansville. Now, it's not necessarily the greater Evansville area, you know, it's a shifting of that, but, you know, I'm an Evansville City Council person, and so my job is to try to increase the tax base for Evansville. And if we can do it through that, then I think that's a positive. If we don't do that, maybe they don't build there. And as Mr. McGowan indicated last night, you know, there's nothing that prevents him from taking that business, which is largely internet-based or cloud-based, and say, we're just not going to construct it. We'll go to Louisville, or we'll go to Paducah or Philadelphia, or we'll just let people work from home. And then we have no increase in tax base. So you allow them to build, and you get an increasingly increase your tax base over 7 years until it's 100% in year 7 for the, or actually on that one it's 10 years. As far as Schnucks goes, I think you're right. There will be grocery stores no matter what. But we also have to look at it from the standpoint of what is currently going on in that Washington Square Mall property. We have a department store shell. It will never be a department store again. And so we would like to see new construction which might spur additional development in that area. And you know, wherever you see a large Schnucks, you see a number of other businesses within that strip mall or the side businesses surrounding it, because there's so many people that go into the grocery stores. So you know, when I asked Gene Hahn last night what his vision is, you know, you could just look up to Lynch and Green River and say, all right, there's a nail salon there, there's a restaurant, you know, and you know, maybe a tax place, maybe an insurance place, and you can see what the future may hold for that South Green River address. And so, you know, if we don't get it, guess what? We have no more taxes. I mean, we're not going to get any more taxes than what we'd otherwise get. If they build it, and we have a 7-year tax abatement on that, then we're going to realize additional tax revenue and perhaps additional growth in that area.
Connor, I can't believe we're already out of time. There's about 50 other subjects I wanted to talk to you about. I've always enjoyed talking to you. For those of you who don't remember, Connor used to do a show with Les Shively, and then when he went on the city council, he couldn't do it anymore, and then I got to take his spot. So today I got to interview the interviewer, I guess. So, well, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see everybody back next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
You're watching memorable entertainment television. Me TV Tri-State.